Welcome everybody to a fresh best of 5. We still continue on in the round of 8 for the COVID relief fundraiser. Spawning here to the bottom left side of the map, we have the Red Protoss player, the French menace DnS. And his opponent to the upper right, we have the Blue Zerg, the challenger Cham. Now, Cham's a really good player, and if I'm being honest, probably in my opinion, one of the top ranking Zergs in North America right now. But I think DnS is the better player. So for me, it's really on Cham to turn the series around, because my default assumption is that DnS takes it home. DnS has won many tournaments with us as well, which is why I have a little bit more of a bias. He's won some bigger events we've done too, but whatever the case is for this series, I hope we get some good games out of it. As I mentioned before, the game started though, and I'm going to include this for the VOD. All donations going towards this charity that we're raising are in fact a charity. None of the money touches me. It's not like I'm taking your money and donating it to the charity. So you can tax write off whatever you donate to the Tiltify link. And I highly encourage you guys, if you've just, even if it's like a couple of bucks, I think of it like this. What if I was in their shoes? What if I couldn't afford to go to the hospital? What if I couldn't afford groceries for my family because I lost my job due to the quarantine and all this stuff? So please consider giving, even if it's just a little bit, this charity. I want to reach our 5,000 goal, obviously, but more importantly, I just want to help as many people as possible. But if you can't afford to give, don't. Please don't. I'm not asking you to reach into your pockets and give away your last like lunch money. This is just simply for people who can afford to help others. But DnS sitting here with the pro being really annoying. I love and hate this. I feel like this is such an old, like, remnant of people who played during HOTS and Wings of Liberty.
Just fucking talk about the game.
Because mineral harassment is not that big of a deal anymore. But you see the consistency of like a couple of players who still insist on doing it. Foo-foo. Thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Oh, on that note too, bits and such that you cheer in the channel will also go towards the charity. What we're doing is we're actually just collecting all the bits at the end and donating it at once. So instead of like, you know, oh, we got 600 bits to stream, let's donate $6. We're gonna wait till we have like 150, 200. We're just gonna do it all at once. So I will say just a clear distinction. I have to still pay rent at the end of the month. So subs and things like from Stream Raiders is how I'm making ends meet. Other than that, all the money we make is going towards the charity stuff. So I really appreciate the Twitch Prime sub. No donations for an entire month has been rough, but I'm not complaining because we have, again, raised a ton of money for charity. Way more than I expected, and I'm very happy about. We've reached a lot of milestone goals, and, well, we have... Is this going to be Resonating Glaives? I'm waiting to see with the Robo, because this can sometimes just still be the Dark Shrine.
All right, maybe that's enough. Enough selling out. Just focus on the game, please.
Well, Roddy, thank you for the advice, and thank you, Heartbroke, for gifting 10 subs out to the community. If you guys got a sub from Heartbroke, you also just got 1 month of ad-free viewing, as our subs don't get ads. So that's really worth making sure you say thank you to Heartbroke for, guys. It's a very nice thing for him to do. But it is Resonating Glaives. So the reason I was questioning this is there's really 2 generic openings in Protoss vs. Zerg right now. The old school one that we've seen many times over the last year, which is the double Archon with the Dark Shrine. Pick it up in the Warp Prism. It's super annoying and no fun to deal with. But more recently, this trend of Resonating Glaives has come into effect. And to be clear, they have not buffed nor changed Resonating Glaives at all. But the difference is, where players in the past would use this for a big all-in opener, now it's more of just like a very aggressive attack that doesn't throw you out of the game if it loses. So rather than build 7 gateways and go super all in, it's typically 4, and the Warp Prism reinforces and you get very aggressive, and DnS will spend a lot of money on adepts trying to break Cham. But if he does this conservatively enough, then it won't be all in, and he can take a third behind this safely, knowing that Cham's busy chasing adepts for the next 4 minutes. Things like this are things we see all the time out of Korean pros, and I expect no less from DnS because he's a top ranking foreigner. Yeah, it's gonna be about a combo of 8 for now. The Warp Prism can help some escapes in a pinch. We do see a Spine Crawler coming in out of Cham. I like this a fair bit. I feel Spine Crawlers are never fun to justify making for Zerg, but Zerglings just fall over so easily to Adepts in a lot of these situations, so that one Spine Crawler might just buy the time or get the hits necessary to stop this from getting too out of control. But we're up to like 12 Adepts now. we're in fight the queen territory. He could just circumvent the third entirely. Transfers shouldn't go off. Stops the transfer. Lings are kind of baited to be in the wrong position. Queens don't start dying too badly yet. But the observer starts cleaning up a lot of the creep though. However, as I mentioned, this doesn't have to be all in, but you'll note DnS is not exactly rushing to take a third behind this. He wants to get damage done. As the adepts stack up like this too, it doesn't matter that they don't have bonus damage versus queens and roaches. There's just so many of them. And with that attack speed, if they focus fire, units from the Zerg player will die. Cham is in a really scary spot, but he's still feeling confident enough to drone. And for that, I respect the shit out of him, because so many times this just snowballs really bad, favoring the Protoss. Back at home, it looks like he's starting to get ready for that third. Yep. Finally slaps this bad boy down. This Nexus can hold so many minerals. You see he's trying to target the drones too. Cham pulling those back might not seem like that big of a detail, but Cham has given no units away whatsoever through all of this. And usually these adepts, they're gonna kill something. A queen, a roach, a drone. This has been a pretty flawless defense out of Cham so far, losing only creep tumors up to this point. But of course, a lot of this is made a little bit easier because DnS is not super committing. Now, of course, caster curse, roach finally dies, first blood, whatever. But because DnS isn't overcommitting, it's been a little bit easy to hold. Now, as he transfers into the main base, Zerglings can't quite get the surround that they want, but they are taking care of the units that they can reach. So far, so good. This attack out of DnS was supposed to kill a bunch of drones. This attack out of DnS does not kill a bunch of drones. Well, not yet at least. These two adepts are getting more done than the first 12 did. 8 workers died total from this, and that does put DnS up in workers, and of course he's on a third base. But he's down in army supply pretty big, and when you do the all-in version of this, the problem is the Zerg player counters and the Protoss player has nothing to defend with. However, that's not going to be the case this game, as DnS already has 2 Immortals out. I believe a third one's just joined in recently. Yep. So a roach counterattack will not have the potency that it does in other versions of similar looking games. We also have Blink on the way. +1 is mostly completed, probably done for the fight. But at the same time for Cham, he's going to have +1 melee and failing speed. Force fields are going to be absolutely pivotal here. Yes, they're going to get broken by the Ravagers, but they also will save these units from the Banelings in a lot of clutch situations, or they need to at least. Cham comes in from both angles, though. I like this a lot. Frees up that one side. Corrosive Bow's land trying to save the other roaches. Banelings get stuck behind another wall of force fields. DnS with no chill right now, but also almost no more force fields. He's used up almost all of his energy just on this first attack. This doesn't mean he can't win a fight defensively, but it means he's not got 8 force fields in his pocket. He goes for the break, hits the sentries, grabs one of the Immortals. Warp Prism going to try and juggle the others. Photon Overcharge used on the shield battery. This is the new patch unit ability thing. And whatever it heals is going to stay alive forever. Cham fails to take that down in time, loses the army, taps out of the game. GG. DnS takes game number 1. Welcome back to the second match of this best of 5. Still rocking the round of 8. And spawning here in the top left side of the map, we have the red Protoss DnS. His opponent to the lower right is the blue Zerg, Cham. Now, Cham's another one of these North American players who came into play for us, which I'm always excited to see. Cham's usually putting up really great games, but that first one felt a little bit lackluster. The adept move out of DnS didn't have me super convinced initially, but things can always get a little out of hand. And that photon overcharge hold was pretty sick and pretty slick. Unfortunately, I guess what I will mention is that the time this is played, like right now, we are still barely a week into the new patch. And it's not that I don't think Cham doesn't know about the shield battery overcharge ability. It's just you're not used to it. And you're especially not used to it being so good. Because it is, for lack of better phrasing, really good. And no matter how I say that, it's going to sound sarcastic, but you witnessed it in that last game. for 14 seconds, it keeps everything alive. So that's something Cham will have to consider. And I think Protoss have actually, because of this, gained a lot of strength in stopping big all-ins early on. But the other side of this coin is we've been watching other players like Clem and a few others just snipe the shield batteries as a priority. Because even if you photon overcharge the shield battery, it doesn't become more durable itself. In fact, it's still easily killed. So yeah, we'll see how things develop. If Cham gets stuck with another terrible all-in, or if maybe this ends up being more of a macro game. Because I do feel there's this weird late game dynamic with Zerg versus Protoss right now that I particularly am enjoying. But it feels like for years, Protoss hasn't really had a late game to play with. And for years, Protoss hasn't really been able to contest like the end game death ball macro of Zerg. But there was one change, and I know this is really stupid to say. There was one change in this patch that makes me think Protoss is going to have a better late game than they've had in the past. And that's feedback range being increased by 1, which I know doesn't sound like that big of a deal for Templar, but now Protoss unequivocally dominate the caster game at the end of this match. You want to bring Vipers in? 100% they're getting feedback before they can use half their abilities now. Same with Infestors, as long as Protoss players are on top of detection. So I feel like with Zerg not having casters stripped away from them, but no longer having the free easy pass of Vipers doing unlimited abducts and never being punished for it, now you've got those things like Templar to fight back against it. And I want to see more of that develop, but I fear that we're not going to see that still for another while, a couple weeks even, because everyone's still getting used to the patch. And up to this point, you know, you use Templar in your late game as a Protoss player, but almost purely for storms, because you can never reach anything with feedback anyways. So anyways, it's a lot of hypotheticals, and I don't know how this will develop, but I'm just saying for me, that's how I think some cool new opportunities might arise for Protoss when it comes to the late game, where up until this point, really, it was no chance once you got to the late game. Zerg was just going to out-macro you and win, unless you had some ridiculous golden armada to work with, which more often than not has not really relied on the Stargate units and more on things like the Archons below them. Regardless, though, we have the Oracle coming out, and she too received some tweaks to the way Revelation works, but honestly, it's been so negligible, I hesitate to even bring it up. But it is worth noting for anyone who's still getting caught up with patch notes that Revelation has had its cost reduced by half the energy, so it's only 25, but was given a 10-second cooldown as a consequence. So you also have a smaller duration on the units, but you can have pretty much 100% uptime with 2 Oracles. Just takes a lot of dedication and micro. Also, who was that? Someone bought a skin. Heartbroke bought the Tuxedo Snack skin. Thank you, Heartbroke. You enjoy memeing with it. And regrettably, yes, we did lose the other battle guys, but we'll talk more about that later. We have the battle queued up again, though. If you guys want to join, we could really use some help in the second raid. Barreling down the middle of the map, though, these 4 adepts combined with these 2 oracles are pretty scary, because if the queens respond to the adepts, they might not be in position for the oracles. Or at least that's the kind of the logic behind it. Or they're just not in position to defend the drones. This transfer to the mineral line ends up ignoring the Zerglings, sacrificing the adepts in order to target fire down the drones, and in the process of doing so, kills 8 workers. Not to mention 2 oracles sweeping in over here. This ends up kicking Cham right in the nuts, man. 38 workers is not a lot to work off of here, especially as he moves towards his lair tech. Gumi Bear Ghost says, thanks for the explanation of the patch changes. I like it. Well, I'm glad to know you like it, because I feel like they fall on deaf ears sometimes, but I try to be a little bit more reminding of it, because it's still the first week, right? It hasn't been a month. Everyone's not used to the notes, and I think a lot of the viewers even miss out on these things. I hardly expect you guys to memorize the patch notes, but like, it's my job, right? So share that knowledge, share that info. I will say casually, guys, while I am going to probably not pay as much attention to chat for the round of 8 casting today, if you do have questions, though, please don't be shy to ask if you're ever confused how stuff works, because to be clear, this is not a super professional stream. This is a we chilling with the homies StarCraft stream, and we want to make sure you guys are all enjoying this as much as we are. So if you're newer, or you don't play as much, or maybe you don't play this race, if I can't answer your questions, I almost guarantee you somebody in chat will be there to either balance wine or answer your questions. You just learn how it changes as you play. Yeah, that's my concept for a lot of games too. Anyways, look, I gotta focus back on the game. Big love, chat. Talk to you guys in a bit because we have an infestation pit finishing up here shortly for Cham. This is going to change things up a fair bit if he goes straight to Hive, but we've also been seeing Swarm Hosts come back into play. A lot of European players too. Not mass Swarm Hosts, but we take Bly for example, and like 8 Swarm Hosts plus a Nidus Worm can do some really serious harassment to Protoss. Hell, even without the Nidus Worm, we have 9 Swarm Hosts on the way. This should be enough to stop this attack. Yeah, roach speed will be not inconsequential, but he doesn't have that many roaches to work with. In fact, a bit of a gamble here with Cham's composition. He can't okay, DnS. What a boss. He marches across the map with Immortals and Centuries. He kills most of the creep tumors and just recalls out. No chance for Cham to punish that whatsoever, and in the process just loses a ton of creep tumors. But as you guys may have noticed, the queens are walking across the field off of the creep. We've got more Swarm Hosts on the way, and while there's no Nidus Worm, there's also no more drones. So, oh, War Prism gets picked off in the middle? Maybe? Oh my god, that's another patch change that I didn't think would matter too much. Queens lost 1 range versus anti-air only. That is literally the difference of that War Prism dying or not on this patch versus the other patch. Cham also micros his Locust down to bait out the trap. That was so sick. Now he's running in with what he has. Most of the Locusts have worn off. This attack not looking super hot for him, but he hasn't committed too much. Remember, most of what he lost here was like little tiny Zerglings, right? And free units like these Locusts. Queen's hitting up those Transfuses to help take down one of the Archons. Those Locusts, by the way, will come off cooldown within the next about 10 or 15 seconds. 8 seconds to go. But yeah, there was a stasis ward on the ground, so he manually lands 2 of the Swarm Hosts or whatever early, the Locusts, so that they eat the trap. That way the rest of them can land afterwards and avoid the trap entirely. That was a good play out of Cham. As he continues to be very aggressive here, though. There's the overcharge going into the shield battery once again. This makes it so the shield battery does not use any energy for 14 seconds, and more to the point, heals for 100% more over those 14 seconds. Essentially, whatever the shield battery's locked onto is going to be unkillable. There's very few things in the game that can out DPS its intense healing. Unfortunately for Cham too, while he's up in supply, I really like his supply count compared to DnS. A lot of it's on cooldown. It's these Swarm Hosts. They're so powerful, but then they're so awful when they can't fight back. Now the Locusts are back up. He'll have to shoot a wave out, but if he does, he puts them all on cooldown. Oh my god, guys. I gotta say, Cham, I don't know if he's gonna win this game. I really like his Swarm Host handling though. I've been very critical of Zerg players who just kind of pop them all and freak out. Cham has been very selectively using his Locusts, and I think to really good effect. Unfortunately though, he's I don't know if he's got a follow-up. I know he's moving towards Lurkers now, but if he loses everything out here, he's got no stalling power, so he's definitely not going to kill DnS with this attack. But what he also needs to do is buy himself some time to get that transition, because I mean the Lurker Den's not even done. Then he has to actually morph the Hydras, and if he gets Lurkers in play, 100% he can tackle DnS, but not without them. Oh, that War Prism almost gets picked off. If those Hydras had actually got the kill, that would have been so sick. A couple more Swarm Hosts are coming out now. Uh-oh, these are on the front line though. Oh no, Cham, these are not supposed to be on the front line though. I think he just kind of realized he couldn't retreat. He was being chased back and he was going to die anyway, so rather than die doing nothing, he tries to die forcing a fight with the attack on the Nexus. I don't mind that move, but it clearly did not work out for him. As he retreats back home, he doesn't have a lot to retreat back to, but he does have Lurkers on the way. I don't know if this will clutch for him, but Lurkers are going to be very good in this situation. Actually, they might not be fine. There's a Void Ray here. It's such a small amount of Hydras. If the Hydras die, then the Void Ray can just kill all the Lurkers. Ultimately, though, looks like DnS doesn't care. He knows he's got brute force on his side. The splash damage from the Lurkers is doing big DPS, but it's not big DPS enough. And DnS takes game number 2 in this best of 5. It's map number 3. And more to the point, it's match point. Spawning here to the top right, he leads with 2 points on the board. 2-0, it is DnS. Bottom left side of the map, blue Zerg player, it's Cham. Deuten Zagberg in the chat asks, this is live tournament, right? Yes, but no. Let me be very clear for everybody tuning in tonight that these games are being cast by replay. These players could not have possibly come out to play. Holy shit! Play live. If we tried to do, well, okay, forget. Nothing I said is gonna matter. Someone just donated $500 to our fucking charity fundraiser, but not to shaft the other Juxon. I want to give a shout out to Juxon because if you guys don't know Juxon, he's been waiting on me to do a 2v2 tournament for him, and I feel bad because I've been holding him on. That's why. But Juxon donated $50 to the charity. Nothing but love for that, bro. But I'm sorry, you got absolutely destroyed by whoever Proxent is, because Proxent just matched our previous top donation, $500. I don't know if Proxent's here in the chat. If you are, give him a round of applause, give him some hearts. But thank you so much, because I believe, if I'm reading that correctly, we did reach our final goal, and now we've actually exceeded it by $35 thanks to these wonderful people. So if you guys don't know, the $5,000 reward goal was, I'm going to now at some point in the not near future, but sometime in the future, host an Archon mode tournament dedicated to the people who made this possible. So I'll be using my own funds on that. We won't have to do a fundraiser, but I'm just saying we're going to host that, not with this charity money. Okay, I want to make that so clear because I realize that can be confusing for people. I don't touch any of this money. All $5,000 raised, that went straight to the charity, right? So we're going to be hosting an Archon mode tournament in the future. Thank you guys for helping us reach all of our goals. I'm still going to tell you to donate. I'm still going to tell you to support COVID-19 relief. But we have reached our full fucking donation goal. Thank you, Proxent, whoever you are, you wonderful blessed angel. But back to this game. We have a Stargate opener out of DnS this time. A bit of a change up from what we've seen so far, but not by too much. It's a very safe opening, and last time we saw oracles used mildly. I think Eternal Empire is one of these maps where I really like Phoenix play, so my fingers are crossed. I want to see some Phoenix out of DnS, but oracles are, you go for at least one. You know, no matter what you do, you want to have at least one because of the scouting it can provide. This is really tough for Cham because of the position he's in score-wise, but he also just doesn't scout the main base. You typically don't send the Overlord in because if you do, it gets picked off by a stalker, but it would be nice to see what's going on here. First off, it is a Phoenix, so booyah, this makes me stoked. But secondly, this could also just be for Phoenix Oracle. But Xavier just donated $10. Thank you, Xavier, saying, I want to make sure that you're able to keep eating Subway, so you're buying a couple of footlongs on me. I don't think the $5 footlong's been a thing in a while, but I will get a delicious sandwich. Italian herbs and cheese, not toasted. No extra cheese. Just the bread is Italian herbs and cheese, right? You get a ham sandwich. You get a layer of lettuce on that bitch. Put a little spinach in so you can get some of those good stuff in your body. A little bit of onions for some flavor, some pickles too, if that's your choice. Another layer of lettuce on top because they never give you enough of the first layer. So it's super stacked. You get a line of light mayo, some honey mustard, salt and pepper. You're good to fucking go. That's the Rifkin special. Hey, thank you so much for the $10. Seriously. But it's a second Stargate. This means we might just see either Mass Oracle, which would be stupid, or more likely and more probably Mass Phoenix. I am so stoked for this. I mentioned before I really like Phoenix play on this map, but I also am just a big fan of Mass Phoenix in general. Granted, that's probably a sick reason why I enjoy 2v2s so much, but I say Eternal Empire is a good map for it. There's just a lot of space to maneuver around with the Phoenix. There's a lot of chokes too that you can get caught in, but I love this surgical maneuver, right? You come in here with the Phoenix, you lift up the Queen, Oracle zaps about 2 or 3 drones, you walk away. It doesn't have to be big damage as long as these units survive and walk away. They're never going to walk away unscathed, but I mean, the Oracle still gets out alive. The Phoenix may be able to pick off a couple of Overlords that are left out on the map errantly, and this is going to be unfortunate for Cham because not only a possible supply block in his future, it's also just going to be super frustrating having to spend hundreds of minerals replacing these Overlords. Yep. Not a lot to really say. undynamic, but it is going to supply block him again. So 4 more Overlords are on the way. This one Phoenix, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but this one Phoenix has caused some pretty significant damage to the macro of Cham. Not to mention there are many more being hidden in the back, and Cham of course has no vision of this. Whatever Overlords he has on the field were stripped away. So you see one Phoenix, one Oracle for the opener, and even with the Stargate being scouted, so I was like, wait a minute, does he see both already?
Swarm forces.
But one Stargate is not that bad. You can deal with one Stargate even if you go Spire, which is usually not the preference, but it's double Stargate. So without realizing it, Cham is building into the worst composition he could go for. Any air units, Mutalisks or Corruptors, are going to die to this amount of Phoenix. Queen's getting picked up too. Oh, I might need one more. Oh man, is that real, Xavier? I'll have to look into that. I hope that applies to Canada. Whether it does or does not, I'm still gonna get Subway. Thanks to you, my friend. Sorry, for those who are newer to the stream, I'm like super obsessed with Subway. It's my favorite. My favorite shit, okay? I know it's not the best. It's my favorite. Oh, I love these pickups on the drones too. Unfortunately, in most situations, if you do this, it also indicates that you want to have energy to fight real units with, and that's where counterattacks come into play. But ooh, even losing a couple of Phoenix unnecessarily, there's going to be some struggles at home. But with a photon overcharge from the shield battery, oh my god, catches them in the net. And of course, this is going to give Cham time to warp in DNS time to warp in units to catch those once they come out of this. It might be a force field or two, it might not, but oh, that was a big deny. That Oracle Sears MVP moment. Because for Cham, that was his best opportunity for a counterattack. Now he starts making a hive directly in face of the Phoenix. These Phoenix, of course, have almost nothing to push them away. And while Corruptors are coming out, DNS is already making Void Rays, which are, of course, the counter to Corruptors. Absolutely wild. An interesting question in chat from Frostly Knight. He says, with the buff Protoss got, how do you even compete as Zerg? That's going to take some time to figure out. The issue with every patch release with major changes like this, granted these ones are kind of on the minor side of things, every patch release that's ever had major changes has taken a while to figure out, and a lot of the time the patches start off looking broken as fuck. Let's use the battlecruiser for example. Do you guys remember when they gave the battlecruiser teleport, how broken that looked? It was unplayable. There's no way Zerg could ever figure this out until a month later when they realized they just needed 3 more queens. So don't get me wrong, maybe it could be broken, maybe buffs are too strong, but we won't know until enough time has passed to watch players adjust. And the reality is, a lot of StarCraft players, it used to just be Koreans, not anymore. I think there's more good Europeans than there are good Koreans right now. But overall, there's a lot of really great players who will figure these strategies out, and we will see them, I'm sure, not be an issue. But right now, absolutely, things look stupid broken in some cases. But just to be clear, I don't think the patch has had any impact on this game at all. Like, it wasn't a photon overcharge that stopped the Zerglings, it was an Oracle casting its stasis ward. The early game damage came not from Phoenix getting buffed, but from lack of scouting. And while this is a little awkward being pushed back like that, DNS just in a fantastic spot this game, not any patch Protoss BS, but because he's just been playing really well. There's a bit of an oversaturation problem in the main, but I'm sure DNS will fix this once this base finishes up. Void Rays are really loud, like just unnecessarily loud as they move. Sorry, I'm just realizing that now. Usually you don't see too many Void Rays in a game. I do like the idea of Cham trying to take these extra bases and grab some of this map control, but unfortunately he's just, I think, maybe dead. There's Broodlords coming out, 13 of them to be precise, but in doing so uses all of his Corruptors. So how is he going to even contest these Void Rays, which are just going to kill said Broodlords? He's got more Corruptors being built as we speak, but I mean, 3 Archons and 4 Void Rays, 5 Void Rays, they don't care about 6 Corruptors. And let's not forget, there's still Phoenix in play too. Those will zone out a fair bit, but running absolutely rampant over here. We do have an attack to the top, catches some of the probes, cancels the new base warping in, but oh god, here's the Bird Lords. I think these Void Rays are just gonna go to town. Prismatic alignment turns on and he focus fires. It's like going in the microwave. It's just like, how did it get so hot so quick in here? How does this even work? Does anyone understand how microwaves work? Nobody does. That's it. These Brood Lords are dead. The Corruptors can't hold. Even with Prismatic alignment wearing off, these are gonna kill like all the Overlords, for example. And granted, back at home, there's an attack, but with the Photon Overcharge and a cannon plus these Phoenix, he holds and hardly loses a damn thing. This blows me away by that, because again, I know objectively from being a fan of Cham, but also watching his games firsthand, he's an amazing player. And for Cham to be made look so silly through this 3-0 does not, to me, speak poorly of Cham. It speaks even more highly of DnS. GG, 3-0, absolute carnage. DnS will move on to the semifinals, and Cham will sadly be knocked out of the tournament.